I'm Annika Small, and it is my real pleasure to be hosting the discussion and debates this afternoon. I think the speakers are all sitting down at the table there, and if there were a tag cloud above us, I think it would say innovation, scalability, where's the learning? It would say accelerate, and it would say, is my embedded video going to work in my slides, and how did I manage to miss lunch? But that's the sort of themes of discussion that are going on there. The way we're going to structure today is, or this afternoon, is we're going to have 3 presentations, but we're going to have some Q&A following each presentation. And so hopefully we'll enable a really interactive session. We're lucky enough to have 3 hugely innovative projects to talk about today. We're kicking off with Dave Whyley, who many of you I'm sure will know has been active in this area for a long time, doing some phenomenal work, and is one of the few people who really have the roadmap from incremental change right through to transformation. We then have Kyle Dixon and Bill Rankin from Texas, who have some phenomenal things to show us at a very early stage, a very innovative, very crisp project that I think you're really going to find exciting. And then we're finishing off with Derek Robertson from Learning and Teach in Scotland. And Derek wasn't able to join us earlier to just talk about this session. So I had to ask some other people around the conference hall what I should say about Derek in introduction. And he has single-handedly changed the course of mobile learning, is what came through. So we can look forward to something really quite special from Derek to close this session. Derek is a teacher, first and foremost, learning, driving absolutely everything that he does, and very much taking informed risks in his work. So some very different but complementary presentations to come. So I'm going to bugger off the stage and pass to Dave, and we're going to have about 20-25 minutes of presentation and then discussion. What I'd like to look at are some of the lessons learned, some of the challenges, but also if we can as a group begin to think about some of the barriers so that we can then put a call to action to the organisers of this conference for next year to talk about what barriers, what do we need to remove to really scale up some of the conversations, some of the practice that we've been seeing over the last 2 days. Over to you, Dave.
Right, folks, good afternoon. I'm sure, like me, you're very tired and you're sort of trying to wind down a little bit, but just bear with me for 20 minutes or so, because I just want to give you the benefit of, I suppose, what we've been talking about over the whole conference and at MLearn last week, and just try and look at where Learning to Go, our mobile learning initiative, came from, what we've learned, and where we think things are moving to next. So I think the key thing is that we started out 5-6 years ago now with it as a side project. But actually what it has become now is a learner entitlement now. And that's what we've got to work towards. We've got to, I suppose we might actually have achieved something when we stop talking about mobile learning and just talk about learning. Because to me that's important. But I'll start off with this. Mobile learning, past and the future. So when you're sitting on a weekend and you're surfing the net and you think, I'll just type that into Google. Well, I did. And I typed mobile learning into Google Images and came up with this. I thought, what the? It's one of those X-Files moments where you thought, hang on, it's a Shakespearean woodcut here. And this kid is using a handheld device. Oh my God. And I zoomed in, and I know the dodgy-looking guy would never pass his CRB check, but bear with me. This kid has got what's called a horn book. And the notion behind the horn book was you could take what you needed to learn around with you. So nothing's changed really, has it? That's the whole idea, the whole concept is shift the stuff around where you are, not have to troop off to the ICT suite. So a bit of context stuff then. So this is the stuff I've picked up over the last 2 weeks really. We listened to Jason Langridge down at Microsoft, and contrary to what you read on Graham's blog, actually Windows Mobile is and I'm the only person to say Windows Mobile in this stage, so I'll say it again, Windows Mobile is actually taking off big time. So much so that it's gone above their desktop OS sales. So this is really important for us. Now we're not wedded to Windows, it's just that for us, it just works. And we know we've got to look at other platforms, but we'll come on to that later. Second point is, we got one of our teachers just who was sort of not sure about this, just to do a survey of her kids. These are year 3 kids. In England, that's 7-year-olds, 6 and 7-year-olds, and 54% own their own mobile phone. And she just saved up to get a digital camera in every class, and these kids have got them on their phones. So there's something got to be done here. Lastly, you know, Mike Short from O2 said, which I thought was phenomenal, you know, the shift from web and walk, you'll have to ask not to have it in your next lot of contracts. Now, when we started with Learning to Go in 2001, we had to convince people that you could surf the web on a small screen. I think that debate is over now. We've got to work out how to teach and learn with it. And lastly, in the near future, there'll be more mobile phones than people on the planet. So although we're using non-connected devices when we started, we're moving towards the connected solution. But it's not about that. This is what we work to. So we're working to these outcomes. The key one for us, which I'm going to focus in on a video that we've shot, is economic well-being. In Wolverhampton, where we work, all the traditional industries are all dying. The chief exec knows that we've got to really make the education of these youngsters fit for the 21st century, not for the 19th century, which is where the heyday of the city and early 20th century. We worked with O2 to implement safety. So what we're trying to do is take these initiatives and bring them kicking and screaming into the 21st century. And it's tough. It's not easy. I've used this slide before, but I had to come back to it because for the first few presentations, I wondered whether I was at the right conference. So why mobile devices? This is about, to us, taking around with you your learning. And this is the best way I can sum up the Wolverhampton approach. It's this photograph and this quote from this youngster. It's like my 21st century pencil case. We envisage a world, and we're achieving it, where you have that toolkit in your hand. It won't do all of the stuff that your big laptop or your desktop will do, but it integrates with that. You've got it there all the while. That's the approach we've got. Like you've got your phone all the while. That's what we're after. My 21st century digital pencil case. That's where we're at. So how did it all start? And I know some of you know us, some of you don't. We started way back with Vector, 14 devices, meant for head teachers. Myself and Gavin Hawkins were brave enough to say, well, the teachers get 2, the learners get 12. So we gave them to the learners, and they all thought we were barking mad. Those kids went on to achieve well in their SATs. It raised their self-esteem. That's the big thing. Then when I came out of school to work across the whole city, we started introducing devices where we could run multimedia. Again, it hadn't been done before. We worked with Espresso to run video content for learning. Then we moved on. We let the learners loose on a head teacher conference. They convinced enough head teachers that there was something in this for us to roll out more devices, 1,000 devices, with built-in camera this time, really crucial. Then we worked with Fujitsu to bring out the EDA, 2006 handheld learning. That was the buzz then. But now we're into connection. So this is the morphing of what we've been doing, and it doesn't stay still. And in education, we like things to stay still, and we can't cope with things that move. So that's your first big barrier, is coping with this flux of change. Once you think you've established how to learn and teach with it, it shifts. So what do we know that works? Here's the stuff that we know works. We know that you need a generic toolkit. It's no good just having something that pushes content. That's easy. The kids want to create stuff. We have to have some way of hooking the teachers in. So you need some sort of classroom management. The other barrier teachers will say is, how do we collect this digital work in? Now, we've got the learning platform to do that, but on a short term, you need to be able to retrieve, assess, and send that work back, because that's essential in teaching and learning theory, isn't it? We know we've got to work outside the classroom, so for us, increasingly, GPS is a very important factor. Locating your learning, locating where things happen. Management applications like GoNo enable us to look at what we know and learn, and then mind map, and then animate, and then wrap that up in a project mapper. We think that's the way forward. So that's what we think works. But the big thing for us is this economic well-being. How do you prove that? Oh my life, it's very difficult. Well, this was Miguel Nussbaum, who presented here 2 years ago. When he came into our classrooms, these are the things he saw. He said, out of the class of kids that had the handhelds, 25% were real hackers, as he called them. He reckoned they'd got enough skill, aged 9 and 10, to go on to see the work in the industry that they were going to earn a living at. And that's where we are. Now, what I tried to do, because we're running an initiative right the way through from Key Stage 1 now, right the way through to 18-year-olds at AS level, we've done a very short video of where our thinking is. A lot of teachers talking on here, but more importantly, a lot of learners. And we have actually got somebody from the world of work who's echoing that these are 21st century skills. Have a listen to this. We've got some audio. Hello? It worked a minute ago, I'm sure. Okay. Do you want to run it again? I was doing quite well on time then as well, I thought, for me. I want to start it, yeah? Okay.
Last 2 years, I've seen my students develop confidence greatly in using the devices, so that will put them ahead in the workplace when they start. We've seen a huge growth in the use of mobile devices and mobile technology, both in education as well as in the workplace. And when we look at the benefits in both areas, it's really about helping people to get access to information wherever they are. When you look at young children using mobile devices, they don't have the same fear factor of technology that many adults have, and they really embrace it very quickly without being limited to go to a physical computer, whether that be in the workplace or an ICT lab in terms of the education environment.
Learning to go and using mobile devices has actually helped our children open up all sorts of opportunities that weren't there for them previously. Their ability to transfer knowledge has all been made stronger as a result of using these handheld devices.
We do sums online. We learn lots of new adding sums and divided.
It's improved my everyday life because I'm getting better at ICT skills now, and I know how to use more software. You can take notes, play games, have music, do pocket slides, PowerPoint. You can do loads of little things. It's all packed into one.
We can use them in science experiments. We could do stuff like take pictures of each stage of the experiment so we know how it developed. And I also think that it's really, really fantastic that you can also connect to the internet.
We'll have skills in the base of technology and mobile devices which people in the future to come are going to be looking for in business jobs.
We're conscious of the fact that they need to be 21st century learners. Whether it's a mobile device, whether it's a learning platform, they'll need to be able to use those skills and to give them a head start, if you like, an advantage.
I think technology will go on so far that we will be using these everywhere. I'm sure every person will have one of these being connected to the internet.
I mean, we've got the option now for students to be learning 24/7, constant contact to the school.
Today's lesson you can actually take with you and continue at home.
Also, I think what it's providing the students with is the access to technology, which is they're going to be using in the future when they leave school, which is really important.
Well, at school, we probably use Microsoft Word. In Excel, we probably make a spreadsheet book to show a graph or tally of something. It's really helpful.
The programs that are on there really encourages them to learn. Not just technology, it's a whole range, so it's the maths, for English, for reading.
I enjoy taking pictures of my friends and I enjoy like reading all the books on there. They're always interesting, and like a normal book, you can just put a bookmark in it and come back to it whenever you want.
The thing that excited me the most about seeing it in primary was the personalisation and how they were able to be quite independent learners, and that's something really at secondary we'd like to work on and develop, and to not lose in that transitional period.
It's a growing part of modern life is mobile technology, whether it's phones or laptops or notebooks. It's all around us, you can't escape it, so utilise it to capture the learning and to capture the children's ingenuity.
When I look at the benefits for learners, it really readies them for when they enter the workplace. They can quickly take advantage of the technologies that those organisations provide in their work life that they've gained through their educational experience.
So what we try to exemplify there, I think, is exactly that economic well-being. And I know it might be corny, but that's what we're there for. I became a teacher to increase the life chances of these youngsters, not because I'm fascinated with technology, but this is going to be their way out. And I'll do some translations of some of the parents on there afterwards if you don't understand Black Country dialect. But to get a parent up there saying that's what we've got that buy-in. But there are some blockers. Somebody stood on this stage yesterday and said, most of the stuff I've seen is replacement technology. Yes, it is. We do replacement because that's where we've got to move the teachers from. We've got to move them from the stuff where they are up to where they are, where they need to be. This guy in the picture here, he's average plus teacher in Google Images. And that's the people we've got to work with. But we need them to appreciate that this is the place where they need to be. This is the type of learning that learners would want. So, teachers are reluctant to change. We've got to move that oil tanker, and that's why we're here, I think. We've got colleagues here who give us strength to carry on when it gets tough, because it does. The problem you've got is that the device manufacturers all seem to be changing all the while. At one time Fujitsu were in the market, then Toshiba, and then they're all over the place. Then we get the iPhone coming out, and it's a big state of change. And we've not reached the tipping point yet. We hear a lot about how many mobile phones there are, but we haven't reached that tipping point that will get the education market to make it worthwhile for these companies to invest in it and try and make some money out of it. One of the big blockers for me is the testing that we have in England. Great announcement yesterday for 14-year-olds, but still we have SATs tests. And I just thought of this last week while I was talking to Don Passy. We thought, the teachers all hope that doing the mobile learning that you've seen will transfer in that month in May down the end of a HB pencil onto the paper. And it does, just about. But measuring mobile learning with SATs is like measuring Lewis Hamilton's practice lap with a sundial. They both measure time, but not very accurately. Mobile learning, then, is part of our total picture now. Learning to Go started off as a minute project, but it's moved on. And to do that, we've got to have partners. We don't want to be managing the connectivity and the rollout of the devices. We've got to have people to help us, and we've got that. We've got to try and build a bridge from where we are, which is a mobile project that uses one device so the teachers can understand it, the techies can understand it, to a place maybe in 3 to 4 years' time where any device comes in. And we've got some middleware that enables all that to talk together. But we ain't there yet. We're not there yet, but that's where we aim to be. So what we've done is stopped talking about one device. We've now offered a range of devices with one OS. We think that's our next step. And we're able to manage that. We've had to include the EPC in because people are interested in it. But the range of devices there is a school will choose according to how much they can afford and what they want on the device. So this is our roadmap. We know that in 2010-11 we're getting a big investment for building schools for the future. And we had to plot forward the number of learners it was going to involve. And it could be as much as 18,000 learners. That's a far cry from where we are at the moment, and we're allegedly one of the biggest projects in the UK. Now, this is big stuff. It's difficult. So we've tried to bring in some money to experiment on this, to learn. So we've used some of the Computers for Pupils money. We will use some of the at-home access money if we can to try and learn how to handle large numbers of devices. So this new stuff to embed then, how does it connect to the learning platform? We've managed to upscale and we need the support. So we found the money with the schools to employ someone permanently supporting these classrooms where mobile learning is taking place. Because that's what's needed. That's one of the barriers that we had. How does 3G connectivity come into the mix? What are the benefits of it? Is it worth just buying the devices without the SIM cards in if you're really strapped for cash? Those are questions that need to be answered. Management systems for us is really important, because when you start to roll out large numbers of devices, this is the sort of thing that greets the technician first thing when they all arrive. This was the delivery at the secondary school. There's about 300 devices packed into this storeroom. They got one room that would take it all that was secure. So there are big practical issues. We're learning from internationally. This is Sean Gross's project in the US. Please have a look at it. Project Connect. He's found a fantastic piece of software that will manage the whole of his estate of devices. We're going to implement that in the UK. It's called SOTI Controller. Have a look at it on Google. Coming to the end now. Is that okay? We use the Computers for Pupils money to reach some hard-to-reach learners. We have got a diverse community in Wolverhampton, including some Gypsy and Roma families. And what better way of meeting their needs than giving them a device plus 2 years connectivity that's portable, that they can take round with them. But not only did we give them that, we gave them a social networking site. The intuitive media networking site called Gold Star Cafe was launched in July with us on mobile. It was great to match the two things together. And the stats so far, and we've only just got the users on. And here's an example homepage. Thought this was fantastic. So this has been created on the handheld. And if we just zoom in, things I love, could never live without: mobile, mates, makeup, hair straighteners. I don't think I need those for you. That's what she loves. So, to sum up then, we ask the question of our schools: do you want to spend your money on more of this, or do you want to come forward with us into this? And I think the answer's got to be, we've got to have that forward thinking. For all the things you've heard over this conference, it's got to move on. We've got to have that personalisation, that choice for the learner to choose what they need, the tools they need to carry out the tasks. Sometimes it's pencil and paper, but we're giving them the tools to use digitally if they want to. If you want more, learningtogo.org. It's easy to remember. Thank you very much. That's all right.
Thanks very much, Dave. I'd like to open it up to the floor and see if there are any questions for Dave specifically. Any thoughts, reflections?
It's that time.
The gentleman at the back. We're just getting a microphone to you. If you could introduce yourself before your question.
Mark Wadsworth. I'm the editor of the UK's first citizen journalism website, thelatest.com. Where might social network, I mean, you see kids on Facebook, Bebo, MySpace, and hopefully in the future, citizen journalism websites like ours linking together. How might that sort of be tapped?
Well, I think it's about moving towards that transformation end. I don't think we've worked out, and the education system in general has worked out, what to do about that phenomenon, because we have a duty for safety, and people are reluctant to allow those chains to be released and can't get their head around how to incorporate that in. What we do know is that through a safe version of it, we can encourage schools to move towards that end goal. So, you know, we've had no difficulty in persuading our head teachers and our schools to engage with the Gold Star Cafe site because they perceive that their risks are mitigated, it's safe. The kids still get some of the buzz out of it that they get with the other bits and pieces. So by the time some of the youngest learners that you saw in the video get through, we'll have probably worked out a way of integrating all that work that you're doing into where we are. So I guess it's a means of trying to move the oil tanker towards that goal. The big issue for us, if we ask teachers, would be, is it safe? How do I use it in my curriculum? And some of the specialist companies are trying to help us with that.
Any other questions for Dave? I suppose I have one question, and that is, knowing what you know now, what would you either do differently, or what would your advice be to people setting out at this stage?
I think if I'd have been able to learn by doing my homework on all of the other projects that are around now, I get frustrated when I attend conferences and people are not going out and researching the stuff that Derek's doing, that we're doing, that Bristol are doing, to learn from those reports that have been written. And you know, I think it's about, I'd probably try and connect the kids first. You ask them what they want to do. They want to be permanently connected to the web. That would be my big thing. The second thing I would do is I would get the teacher support in much quicker. And what we found that works is that you do a briefing with the teachers out to upskill them, but then you follow that up within 2 or 3 days with a visit into the classroom to model in the classroom how you would deliver it. And I think that's meant that teachers really embrace this, and they will start to use it, because they're the gatekeepers of all this. No matter how much we talk about what happens out of school, what we're about is incorporating this into school systems. And they're the gatekeepers, and we've got to persuade the gatekeepers that it's safe and it's worth taking the risk. And I think the evidence is stacking up now. They actually can improve standards by doing this. I mean, when we started, we thought, if only we can keep the standards the same, because everybody thought the kids will be playing on the devices and that it'll nosedive. But we've actually proved that it improves standards. So, do your homework, put some support in for your teachers, give them plenty of video evidence to see what it is you're modelling, and I think you'll have success.
Fantastic. Got another question at the back there, in the middle.
Hello, my name's Martin Coleman from a company called Edgenova, which is an education consultancy. I'm just interested, you've thrown yourself into 2 things. One is Microsoft, 2 is certain sorts of devices, and yet we know students themselves have their own devices, and those devices are likely to change going forward. Do you see an element of risk in that, and are you doing anything to sort of broaden out? You mentioned the Acer CPC, etc. Are you able to transfer this learning capability to other devices?
Yeah, we have tied to Microsoft because that's what was around in 2001. It was Palm or Microsoft. And I'll let others pontificate about kids bringing their own devices in, because I can't cope with that at the moment. I'll let others do that bit of research. What I've tried to explain to you is the steps we would take to get towards that. So, we're looking at the Nokia web tablet at the moment. If Apple were a bit more generous, possibly we might get some iPhones, if O2 are listening. But at the moment, we've tried to stick to one thing, because it's very, very complex to see what you've got here. And I suppose eventually, in 2 to 3 years' time, we'll have to have an amalgamation of all the projects that are around to give a total solution, but we can't cope with that yet. I think I've explained why we're gradually moving towards this. And at the end of the day, Windows Mobile actually works. This isn't made up stuff, and it's a big project, and it's happening daily in our classrooms. And I don't know of any other sizable projects using other OSs. And if they are out there, I'd love to visit them.
I think in the interest of time, I will thank Dave again, and we will move on to Kyle and Bill, but thank you again.
Thanks.